Hello guys and welcome back to the channel, and I'm featuring the Honda PC-50 again today. There's been a long gap between the last video and this one, and that's because the whole process of trying to get this bike registered here in the UK took a very long time, but I've been very patient, and the great news is that I've now got a reg plate for this bike. So there's only a couple of things left to do and I'm going to be able to ride this on the roads. There are a few things missing on this bike which I will explain in this video and talk about why it's like that. But on the whole, I'm just so happy to be finally in a position where I'm really close to getting this on the road. It's now just down to me fixing a few things and sorting a few things out on this bike. So just to talk through basically what happened, I was going to strip this whole bike down, get it powder coated and resprayed and rebuild it, but the process was going on for so long, I didn't know if I was going to be able to get this bike registered anyway, so I didn't want to invest any amount of money into it before I knew that I could definitely have this bike on the road. Anyway, forward a few months, and when it got to the point where the paperwork was getting really close, I started to get a little bit impatient and thought, well, I could just rebuild this and have a working bike with the paperwork. So that is basically what has ended up happening. I haven't gone ahead and done the powder coating or anything like that. I've just decided to clean the bike up the best I can, get rid of as much of the dirt as possible, which has been a really fun experience for me, learning about this bike inside and out. Basically, I know pretty much everything about this bike now, which has been really fun. It's so simple. So yeah, I just basically ended up rebuilding it all, and I actually had to build it up a certain amount because the DVLA here in the UK needed proof that the bike actually existed. So I had to reassemble it loosely and take some photographs of it for evidence. And then, yeah, after that, I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to clean this up the best I can, put it back together, and when my reg plate comes, I'll be able to ride it. So that is pretty much what's happened with the project. I know that some of you have watched parts 1 to 5 of the resto, and then it's just kind of stopped. So that's why that's happened, and that's where we're up to with the bike now. So I'll take you through a little bit about what's missing and what I've done to the bike. Not an awful lot, but I'll talk you through it now. Front end wise, you can see there's no front mudguard. That's because the fixtures for the front mudguard are actually broken, so it doesn't hold on very well. So I've decided just to go without that. It should be okay. The speedo's missing, and I will do another video about that, but for now I'm gonna mount my phone on the handlebars and use that as a speedometer because there's something inside the drum that's broken and I can't get the part basically. But I'll do another video showing you exactly the problem with that, and maybe some of you guys might be able to help me source a part for that. So yeah, front end, you will notice as well there's no light. This is a bit of a grey area, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this. That when you get an MOT on a motorbike, you can do this thing in the UK called a daylight MOT, where you basically don't run any lights and you can only ride it in the daytime. Makes sense, right? I don't have to get an MOT for this vehicle, so I don't need to say it's a daylight MOT. So I'm basically just going to try running it without lights completely. I may get pulled over for it, I may get in trouble for it, I'm not sure at this point, but I know because of the age of this bike, there are a lot of rules which allow me to get away with certain things. Like I don't actually even need a brake light, I don't think, because of my bike's age, basically. So all the electronic loom is gone. I've taken it all out, and my plan is to ride the bike like this for this year up until winter, and then next winter, when I'm not riding, I'm gonna sort out all the electronics and get all the lights and everything working. Probably going to be aftermarket stuff, but I don't really care about preserving everything on this bike. I just want it to work and look cool. So that's why there's no lights on it. I'm going to get a cordless horn. You can get these like electronic horns off eBay, which just run off battery, and that will be sufficient. And like I say, yeah, the speedo will be my phone, which I'm using here. But the only thing, it won't be counting up the mileage, but I mean, I don't really care about that. I know that I'm going to be looking after the bike. It would obviously be nice to know how many miles I've done, but it's not a massive priority for me at the moment. Even if I put 100, 200, 300 miles on it this summer, it's not really a big deal in my opinion. So that's why everything's looking quite bare. I'll take you around the bike and show you some of the things I've added. So I can't remember what this was for, but I've actually just used that as a kind of cable tie at the front. So that keeps all the cables nice and tight behind there. I'm going to actually make this a little bit neater somehow, maybe a cable tie around here, just so it's a bit more secure and not flopping around like this. I think I might try and mount a bike light on there, just because it's better than nothing, and it's probably be better than the original anyway. Moving along down here, I've got these brand new pedals, which are kind of like a nice retro style. These were on eBay and they're only about £12. They look kind of cool. They don't spin very well, but again, I mean, it's not something that really matters for this bike. I'm mainly just going to be flat on them once it's running, so don't really need to do too much with the pedals. So yeah, they look pretty nice. I think they're rally ones. Obviously there's loads of options with pedals, but I think they suit the bike, which is good. Took the bike out for a little test run the other day and I lost the cap off this, but this valve cover for one of the sort of thinner inner tubes, like a racing bike, seems to just screw on there perfectly. So I'm just using that as the lever cover for now, and that seems absolutely fine. Maybe I'll be able to pick one of those up at some point, but I'm not too fussed. Again, one idea that I've actually had is drilling a hole in a dice and having that as a dice. I think that'd look quite cool. And on the topic of that, for my valve covers, I've actually ordered two kind of metallic metal orange dice to go on the dust caps. So yeah, metal dust caps that are dice and they're orange, so I think they'll look really cool. All the exhaust and everything is stock for now. I may consider changing that at some point, just for a little bit more volume, and not because I want to sound like a boy racer, but just so I've got a bit more presence on the road and people can hear me coming, that kind of thing. Round the back, I've kind of modified the original mudguard. So I was going to take this off and have the reg plate here. You can see I've made this like really crude little mount up here and have the reg plate sort of down. But I decided to go ahead and use the original mudguard. Now, again, some of the mounts like up here are a bit cracked and things, so they may not hold too well. Then I used the original holes in the mudguard with a cable tie, and I need to get some locking nuts for this, but this is just a temporary thing to show you guys. That's how the reg plate is mounted on the back. So it looks pretty nice. It looks quite stock, and it looks kind of like retro, the way it's like down at the back of the bike like that. So I'm pretty happy with it. I did quite a lot of cleaning up. You can see like these chain tensioners and bolts, they were really, really rusty. And I actually left all these in apple cider vinegar for about 24 hours and then hit them with a wire sort of toothbrush that I've got, like a wire brush toothbrush, and they've come up really nice. Did the same for this. You can see that was all just rust, and now it's looking a lot better. So I did that with a lot of the nuts. You can see I've cleaned all the hubs. They look pretty good, but I'll just keep chipping away at this now and working at it. I wire brushed these off, so got a lot of the rust. Again, they need a little bit more work, but it's all getting there slowly and it's looking nice. I think the only other thing to mention is this air intake, which I just wanted because it looks pretty cool. Nice and secure on there. And I have actually also put an inline fuel filter on this bike as well, just to catch any crud that might be coming from the original tank. So that's inline on there, and you can see that I've replaced the fuel line as well for a transparent line. So that looks pretty cool, and I can see if the fuel is working or not, which is good. So that is pretty much everything there is to talk about with this bike right now. My overall new plan for it is just to get all the hardware looking brand new, so all the nuts and bolts and everything like that. I'll slowly replace all those. I'm going to polish the engine up instead of that paint that's on it at the moment, and leave the frame and everything else kind of patinaed like this because it looks really nice. And I don't really want to mess with the original paint either. I think it's nice that it has an original paint, and I want to keep it that way. I also want to get a basket for the front, so I'm going to make use of these mounts and sort of craft something here which can hold a basket. And I'm going to get a plastic kind of box for the back as well, like an old sort of Belgian beer one. So it's going to be really functional, really practical. And yeah, just can't really wait to get it on the road now. So yeah, that's it overall for this one, guys. Sorry that the series didn't carry on, but that's what happened with it all. It was just such a long wait to get this registered. But yeah, it's registered now, so hopefully there's going to be a lot more videos coming about this bike now that I'm confident that I can spend some money on it. I'll see you all in another video very soon.